There is a belief about dementia that I want to take apart in the first minute of this video, because almost everyone over 60 is carrying it around and it is quietly doing harm. The belief is that dementia is luck, that it runs in your family or it doesn't, that it comes for you or it passes you by, and there is nothing in the middle that you get any say over. I understand why people think that. For most of my career, that is roughly what medicine believed too. Then in 2024, the Lancet Commission, one of the most respected panels of dementia experts in the world, published the number that changes the whole conversation. 45% of dementia cases are preventable, almost half, and not through some miracle drug that doesn't exist yet. Through 14 ordinary things already sitting inside your own life right now. 14 levers you can put your hand on. I'm Dr. John Meyers, an internal medicine specialist, and in more than 20 years of practice, I have watched families blame genetics for something that, close to half the time, was built slowly out of choices nobody knew were choices. And here is the part that should get your attention. Most people whose brain has already started to slip have no idea it is happening. It is silent for years. So today I am going to walk you through all 14 of those levers, what each one is, how it actually works inside your head, and exactly what to do about it. And near the end, I am going to tell you about a patient of mine, a man in his late 50s, who is already slipping, and what happened when we changed just 3 of these. Stay with me for that one, because it is the whole point of this video. And look, everything we're about to go through today, your memory, your focus, your balance, the way your brain ages, this is exactly the kind of thing my patients ask me about every single day. I took everything I tell my own patients and put it into one simple plan for living longer, stronger, and healthier after 60. 28 of the things that actually change as you get older. Your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your memory, your balance. And those are only some of them. Thousands of people are already using it to take back their health. It's already helped so many of them live their best life after 60. The link is on your screen right now, so go check it out at drjohnmyers.com. And I'll drop that same link down in the description below, so it's right there whenever you're ready. All right, let's start with how a healthy brain actually stays healthy. Your brain is a living, working organ, not some stone that just wears down on its own no matter what you do. And like every working organ, it needs 3 things to stay intact. Miss any one of them for long enough and it starts to fail. So before we touch a single risk factor, I want you to hold these 3 in your head, because every one of the 14 levers protects one of them. The first thing your brain needs is signal, input. It runs on the stream of sound and sight and conversation coming in from the world, and the connections inside it stay strong only while signals are actually traveling through them. Cut the signal and those regions go quiet and begin to shrink. Use it or lose it, and I mean that literally at the level of brain tissue. The second thing it needs is cleaning. Every single day your brain produces waste, and 2 of those waste proteins are called amyloid and tau. When they are allowed to build up, amyloid hardens into plaques and tau twists into tangles, and that sludge is exactly what Alzheimer's disease looks like under a microscope. Your brain has a system to wash that waste out, and I'll show you when it runs and why most people sabotage it. The third thing it needs is supply. Clean blood, oxygen, and steady fuel, delivered through vessels that aren't clogged or inflamed. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, and it burns something like 20% of your energy. Starve the supply line, and the most demanding organ you own is the first to feel it. Signal, cleaning, supply. That is the whole game. Now let's go lever by lever. The first lever is the one almost nobody sees coming: hearing. Most people file hearing loss under inconvenience. Something you adjust to, turn the television up for, ask people to repeat themselves over. But untreated hearing loss raises your risk of dementia by about 1.5 times. 50% higher from that one factor alone, and it is one of the single largest modifiable risk factors on the entire Lancet list. Come back to the spine. Your brain runs on signal. When your hearing narrows, the voices, the music, the ordinary background hum of a room, whole regions of your brain that used to light up start receiving less and less, and tissue that stops getting used starts to shrink. That is the first hit. The second hit is quieter and honestly sadder. When hearing gets hard, people pull back. Conversation becomes tiring and a little embarrassing, so they go out less, they call less, they sit on the edge of the family dinner instead of in it. and social isolation, which we will come back to, is its own separate risk factor. One thing pulls the next. I have watched a patient go quiet over a couple of years, watched the family put it down to old age, and nobody connected it back to a pair of ears that simply stopped delivering the signal. So here is what to do, and do not wait on this. If you or someone you love is turning the volume up, missing words, dreading noisy rooms, get a hearing test with an audiologist this year. And I know a hearing aid can feel like admitting something. Set that aside. What it really does is keep feeding your brain the input it needs to stay alive, and restoring that signal is protective. We can measure it. The same logic runs straight through your eyes, and the number here is one to sit with. Your eyes deliver roughly 80% of all the sensory information your brain takes in. 80%. So when your vision fades, your brain starves for input the same way it does when your hearing goes, only bigger, because sight is the biggest input channel you have. Now the specific piece of evidence. Cataracts are a clouding of the lens inside your eye, the thing that makes the whole world look like you're staring through a smeared window. The Lancet Commission points to research showing that having cataract surgery, actually clearing that lens, is linked to about a 29% lower risk of dementia, nearly a third from restoring sight. That is one of the most striking numbers in this entire field, and it draws a straight line most people never draw. Your eyes and your brain are one system. The trap with cataracts is that they come on slowly. You adapt to seeing a little worse each year and decide it's just how things look now. But it's a treatable, reversible condition, and quietly adapting to it is the mistake. Get your eyes checked on a real schedule, and if something is found, act on it instead of adapting to it. Talk to an ophthalmologist. Keep the biggest input channel your brain owns wide open. 2 more levers live under signal, and they are the ones people wave off as soft. They are not soft. They may be the strongest of all. The first is human connection. The Harvard study of adult development has followed the same group of men for close to 80 years, one of the longest-running studies in medical history, and its single loudest finding is that the quality of your relationships predicts your brain health and your lifespan better than almost anything else they measured. What counts is the warmth and the regularity of real human connection, far more than the number of contacts in your phone. A genuine argument about an idea, an afternoon at a gallery, a long conversation that actually goes somewhere, those are far from trivial. Your brain treats them as exercise, and people with rich social lives hold on to their thinking years longer. The second is learning, and low education across a lifetime raises dementia risk by about 1.6 times. But do not hear that as a verdict on the schooling you did or didn't get 50 years ago. What matters is whether you are still learning now. Your brain keeps a property called neuroplasticity, the ability to build brand new connections in response to new experience right into old age. A second language, a musical instrument, a demanding book you have to slow down and actually think about. There is research showing that reading serious fiction for a couple of months produces measurable changes in the structure of the brain, in the direction of health. Reading aloud lights up several brain regions at once. Writing by hand, drawing, knitting, any fine motor work like that wakes up large areas of the motor cortex. Treat all of that as real brain protection you can start tonight. Now the second job, cleaning. And I have to stop and kill a myth first, because I hear it in my office constantly. Somebody tells me, I sleep badly, I'm up at 4, I toss for an hour, but that's just what happens when you get older. No, that belief is wrong, and it costs people. Bad sleep is a real, treatable problem at any age, and it turns out to be one of the most important things happening inside your skull every single night. The reason sits inside your sleep. During deep sleep, your brain switches on something called the glymphatic system, which is its overnight cleaning crew. This is the system that flushes out the day's metabolic waste, and near the top of that waste list are the 2 proteins I named at the start, amyloid and tau, the exact proteins whose buildup is the hallmark of Alzheimer's. The cleaning crew's whole job is to clear them before they can pile up, and it can only run properly while you are deeply asleep. Shorten your sleep or wreck its quality, and the cleaning doesn't finish. The waste sits there, and each poor night leaves a little more behind. And this isn't only animal research. Studies done on living human beings have shown that even a single sleepless night measurably disrupts how the brain handles amyloid. One night. Now picture someone who has slept badly for a decade, whose brain hasn't had a full clean in years. When a diagnosis finally lands 20 years later, Nobody traces it back to the sleepless nights in their 50s. But the line is real. You already know what one bad night does to you. The heavy head, the slow words, the short temper. That fog is your brain telling you it didn't finish the wash. So let's protect the cleaning. The biggest sabotage is the phone in bed. The blue light from a screen hits a tiny clock in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus and tells it the sun is up, so your brain suppresses melatonin, the hormone that starts sleep. And the anxious content in the feed spikes your cortisol and flips you into threat mode right when you should be winding down, which feeds that 3 a.m. loop where the same worry replays and won't switch off. So put the phone out of the bedroom 45 to 60 minutes before bed. Then, lying there, run a slow breath with a long exhale, in for 4 counts, out for 8, because a long exhale switches on the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and calm side. Unclench your jaw, drop your tongue off the roof of your mouth, let your face go slack, and the body follows the face down. If your insomnia is chronic and anxious, that is worth treating with a doctor, not just accepting. Quick pause, because if this is the kind of straight, no-nonsense health information you want more of, do me one favor, hit subscribe, give this video a like, and leave me a comment. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear it. Okay, back to it, because the next job is where most of the 14 levers actually live. The third job is supply, and this is the big one, because most of the remaining levers choke the blood and fuel getting to your brain. We start with something that surprises people every time. Your muscles. Somewhere around 35, your body starts losing muscle, and after 50, that loss speeds up to somewhere between 1 and 2% a year. By 80, some people have lost half of the muscle they had at their peak. Everybody connects that to being weaker or looking older. Almost nobody connects it to their brain. They should. Here is what most people never learn about muscle. It is an endocrine organ, meaning it releases hormones, and when you contract a muscle, it releases signaling molecules called myokines that travel up to your brain and tell it to grow new neurons and to calm inflammation down. Less muscle means fewer myokines, weaker blood flow to the brain, and a higher background level of inflammation everywhere. A 2025 study confirmed that sarcopenia, which is the clinical name for age-related muscle loss, is an actual causal contributor to cognitive decline, and that physical activity is the thing that sits in the middle of that relationship. Working muscle protects the brain. Wasting muscle works against it, and a sedentary life raises dementia risk by about 1.5 times. You do not need a gym for this, and that is the part 1 want to land. 10 minutes of movement every single morning, or a couple of brisk 30-minute walks a week, is already enough to meaningfully lower the risk of decline. The magic word is regularity. Daily moderate movement beats the occasional hard workout every time. No equipment, no membership, no special place, just consistency. Balance is the next lever, and it is an early warning most people misread completely. A little unsteadiness creeps in and gets blamed on the blood pressure, on the vessels, on something in the legs. But your balance is run in large part by your cerebellum and your frontal lobes, and those are the same brain regions involved in planning and coordination, the same regions that respond early to the changes that come before cognitive decline. Failing balance and failing memory very often travel together. That connection is well established. So here's a test you can do right now, and please stand next to a wall or a sturdy chair for safety before you try it. Lift one foot off the floor and hold it. Aim for 10 seconds, then switch to the other side. If you cannot hold steady for 10 seconds on either foot, that is a signal worth taking seriously, not a reason to panic. Because the good news is the balance system responds beautifully to training. Simple balance drills at home, holding that single leg stand a little longer each week, produce measurable improvement inside a few weeks. And you are doing more than steadying your feet. You are training brain regions you badly want to keep sharp. The hardest levers to catch are the ones with no symptoms at all, the ones burning away silently for years. Visceral fat is the first. Visceral fat is the hidden kind. It sits deep in your belly, wrapped around your organs, your liver, your intestines, your pancreas, well below the soft layer you can pinch with your fingers. From the outside, a person just looks a little heavy through the middle. But that internal fat is chemically active in a way that hurts you. It pumps out a steady stream of inflammatory molecules, a low, silent, feverless burn that causes no pain and gives no warning, and over years it damages blood vessels and nerve cells, including neurons in the brain. Visceral fat also drives insulin resistance, which is when your cells stop responding properly to insulin. And insulin is not only about blood sugar, it plays a direct role in the brain, protecting neurons and helping brain cells signal to each other. When the brain becomes insulin resistant, it suffers. Some researchers now call Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. That is how close the link between blood sugar handling and cognitive decline has turned out to be. And this is exactly why the Lancet Commission's 2024 report, for the first time, added high LDL cholesterol, the bad kind, to the official list. Clogged, inflamed vessels feeding the brain are a dementia problem, which means your blood pressure and your blood sugar are brain numbers too. So watch your waistline, get your cholesterol and your blood pressure checked, and treat them. Do it for what your brain will look like in 20 years, not for the mirror. That brings us to the levers people least want to hear about, so I'll be quick and I'll be straight. Smoking raises dementia risk by about 1.2 times. If you smoke, quitting is one of the single most protective things you will ever do for your brain, and it is never too late for the vessels to recover some function. Alcohol raises it by about 1.3, and I want to spend a moment here because one myth refuses to die. A glass of red wine is good for your heart. A little brandy is practically medicine. For years we were even told that. That was a marketing story the alcohol industry worked hard to plant, and evidence-based medicine has moved past it. For the brain in particular, there is no safe amount. Regular drinking, even moderate drinking, speeds up shrinkage of brain tissue and wrecks the deep sleep that your cleaning crew depends on. That nightcap to relax is doing two kinds of damage at once, to the tissue and to the wash. And then there is your mood, which belongs on this list as much as anything physical. Depression is a medical condition, and it raises dementia risk by about 2.2 times, one of the largest multipliers on the whole list. The mechanism is understood. Depression pushes up inflammation in the blood and brain, it disrupts the growth of new neurons, and it measurably shrinks the hippocampus, which is the brain's memory center. Persistent low mood, losing interest in things you used to love, deep fatigue, broken sleep, those are worth taking to a doctor. Depression is treatable, and treating it early protects the brain. To round out the 14, two more the Lancet team names. A serious head injury earlier in life and long-term exposure to polluted air, both raise risk too, and both are worth protecting against. A helmet and a seatbelt for the first, and cleaner indoor air for the second. Now the part that lets you catch this early, in yourself and in the people you love. Because here is the hopeful truth underneath all of it. The window where all of this actually works is the early one, before a diagnosis, and there are signs that open that window. Speech is one of the earliest and most reliable. When the brain begins to change, language quietly simplifies before the person even notices. Words that used to arrive automatically now need a pause. Sentences get shorter, the complicated phrasing drops away, and the people around them just adapt to it, month by month, without ever registering it as a change. If you or someone you love is taking longer to find words, trailing off in the middle of a sentence, speaking in plainer terms than a year ago, that is worth a conversation with a neurologist. Memory is next, and it matters which kind. Walking into a room and forgetting why happens to all of us, all our lives, but frequently forgetting what you said 5 minutes ago. Regularly losing the names of people you know well, scrambling the order of recent events, that is different. Clinically, those early changes are called mild cognitive impairment. That is not dementia, and that is the exact window where doing something helps most. Spatial sense is the third. Your phone's map has quietly taken over one of the brain's most demanding jobs. The hippocampus, that memory center, the first structure Alzheimer's attacks, is deeply involved in finding your way around. Outsource every route to the phone, and that region stops getting its workout. So now and then, drive somewhere familiar without the map on. Navigate from memory. That is deliberate training for a part of the brain you want to keep. And if you want an actual measure of where you stand today, there is a free standardized self-test called the SAGE test that you can do at home and score yourself. It is a starting point, a way to decide whether a neurology visit makes sense now, not a replacement for a specialist. Let me tell you about the patient I promised you. I'll call him James, and he is a composite of several people I have treated, so no one is identifiable, but every detail is true to what I have seen. James came in around his late 50s. His wife did most of the talking. He'd been reaching for words that used to come easy, and twice he'd gotten turned around driving routes he had known for 30 years, which frightened them both. When we sat down and actually went through his life, the picture told itself. He slept maybe 5 hours, badly. He had a desk job and moved almost never. He had 2 glasses of wine every night to come down from the day, and he had a hearing loss he'd been ignoring for years. Every one of those, on its own, looked manageable. Stacked together, they had been quietly compounding on his brain for a decade. We didn't fix all 14, we picked 3. He got the hearing aids, he got the phone out of the bedroom and his sleep came back, and he traded the desk-bound day for a real walk every morning. I want to be honest with you about what happened, because the honest version is the whole point. His decline did not reverse. He did not wake up sharp again like he was 40. But when we tested him a year and a half later, it had stabilized, it had stopped moving, and for a man who thought he was on a one-way road, stopping the slide was everything. That is what early action buys you. Not always a cure, a different road. And this is why the timing matters so much. After 50, dementia risk roughly doubles every 5 years. The earlier you put your hand on these levers, the more they give you back. Early beats late here every single time. And that right there, what I just walked you through with James, choosing a few of these and starting, that is one small corner of a much bigger plan I built. In it, this is one topic out of 28, all the things that quietly change after 60, and exactly what to do about each one. If today gave you a push to actually start, that plan will hold your hand through the rest. The link is down in the description, and I've pinned it right at the top of the comments too. No rush, no pressure, it'll be there whenever you're ready. So here is your fast recap, the whole thing in one breath. 45% of dementia is preventable, and the evidence behind that number is solid. Get your hearing and your vision checked and act on what you find. Don't wait. Fix your sleep, the phone leaves the bedroom and the schedule stays steady. Move every single day, 10 minutes is a real floor. Watch your waistline, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and your blood sugar, and treat them. Stay genuinely connected to people, keep learning, and read real books. Take your mood seriously, because depression is a treatable condition that reaches straight into the brain. Stop smoking, drop the alcohol. And if your speech, your memory, or your sense of direction has changed, run the SAGE test and book time with a neurologist. Now let me ask you something, and I mean it, because your answer shapes what I make next. How old are you? Put it in the comments. Age genuinely changes which of these 14 levers matters most for you right now, and knowing who is on the other side of this screen helps me make videos that actually meet you where you are. If this gave you something useful today, hit subscribe, leave a like, and share it with one person in your life who needs to hear it. That's how it reaches the people it can help. Take care of that brain of yours. Start with one lever tonight. I'll see you in the next one.